Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Tuesday, July the 3rd, and welcome to our video commentary. Well, we're about to have an announcement by President Trump. Originally, it was scheduled for Monday, July the 9th. It may happen before that, but certainly within the next week or so, we will hear the name of President Trump's nominee for confirmation to the Supreme Court. And we're getting, the usual crazy response whenever a Republican president nominates someone for the Supreme Court. We saw this with President Bush, the second President Bush, when he nominated Sam Alito and John Roberts to the Supreme Court. And we saw this when President Trump nominated Neil Gorsuch, and we're about to see it again. And the whole thing is a big battle over Roe v. Wade, or the decision of the Supreme Court back in 1973 that made abortion legal in the United States. And ever since then, our judicial confirmation hearings have become into nothing more than a crazy, debate about abortion. It's fascinating because let's, for example, say that a Supreme Court nominee or justice is in the court for 20 years, which is a pretty realistic thing to say. Some of them could be there longer. Justice Kennedy, who retired, was there for 31 years. So, I mean, they could be there 20, 25, 30 years. I guess it depends on their health and their choice to stay. So a Supreme Court justice is probably going to be looking at anywhere from 200 to 300 opinions in his or her tenure as a Supreme Court justice. And yet, here we are completely obsessed with how this Trump nominee is going to vote on Roe v. Wade. And I just think the whole thing is completely crazy and out of proportion with reality. Now, my feelings about Roe v. Wade have not changed over the years. I think Roe v. Wade was a bad idea, but it was a bad idea not necessarily because it made abortion legal. That was bad in itself. But it was an even worse idea because it took away from the people, it took away from legislatures, it took away from the American people the opportunity to define abortion. Had Roe v. Wade never happened, we would have abortion today in practically just about every state. It would be legal in most states, but it would be legal with certain conditions, as is the case just happened in Ireland, where they voted for abortion, but only abortion in the first 12 weeks. Or if you go to other European countries, they have abortion too, but only, let's say, in a period of time. They don't have unconditional abortion over 20 weeks or whatever the case may be. But this has become a really fighting issue for the Democrats, and I think they may be missing the point here. I know that according to the experts, that it gets a lot of women to vote against the Republicans, but it also gets a lot of women to vote pro-life, which is always the counterpoint. I'm not sure which group is bigger, but if I had to bet on turnout, I'm always going to bet on Republican turnout because they're more disciplined and they turn out to be much better at turnout than the Democrats. But it makes me go back to a time, or it makes me wish that we could go back to a time. I was reading a book about the Eisenhower presidency not long ago, and President Eisenhower had 3 nominations to the Supreme Court. All 3 were approved. And there's a reference in the book about one of these justices or one of these judges who became a justice. And one of them, all 3 of them actually, were selected on a voice vote, meaning they would go to the Senate and say, here's a man, here's a woman. They have all these credentials. They've been a judge for this time. They have good temperament. They have good recommendations. And most of the time, these people were selected overwhelmingly because they were being judged as judges and jurists and so on. But now, because of Roe v. Wade, it's all about abortion. I don't think that's healthy for the country. I don't think it's healthy for the country, number one. I don't think that's what the people who wrote Roe v. Wade had in mind. I don't think they meant for Roe v. Wade to be this divisive, what it has become. And also because I just don't think that abortion is the only issue that matters. There's other issues, as I say. There's probably 50, 100 cases that will come up in the life of one of these judges that we can't even think about right now that could be more important. So you want someone with good judicial temperament, someone with a good record, a good background, a sensible person, but it seems like the Democrats just want to argue about Roe v. Wade. So get ready for it. Get ready for it. Every other question from the Democrat on the panel or the confirmation panel is going to be about Roe v. Wade. They're going to ask it 10,000 different ways. They're going to ask him 10,000 different ways about abortion. And frankly, I wish, and I know you're never going to see this, but I wish that one of the nominees would say, folks, is there anything else other than abortion that you want to ask me about? Because there's a lot of other things, but apparently in these days, in the modern Democrat Party, which is basically nothing but a left-wing party, abortion is, I guess, everything that matters. Nothing else matters except abortion. I think it's very sad, but that's where we are, and that's where the Democrat Party is. Well, we have all of these videos over on YouTube, on Twitter, on my blog. And if July 3rd is your birthday, have a wonderful birthday. Bye-bye, everybody.